A brand new year, a brand new team. Sure, a lot of the faces are the same, but this is a brand new team. This is 2025. This is the DLLS Rangers Podcast. Known as the Boys of Summer, the boys are back for a winter banquet, but it will be the first real gathering of the 2025 Texas Rangers. As we welcome you into the DLLS Sports Studios, it's the DLLS Rangers Podcast. Me, John Radigan, that's Jeff Wilson. We've got Elijah Smith, the prophet, over there with Rads and J-Dub, and we are talking Rangers for the next hour with you. You're the most important part of the process. So please chat along with us, like us, subscribe to us, and let's get ready to talk some baseball on a busy weekend for the Texas Rangers. This is the sort of the unofficial start of what will be the 2025 season. As I said, basically the entire team, as it is right now, will be together today and most of them tomorrow. Tonight's the Winter Banquet. Tomorrow is FanFest. It's a weekend that celebrates baseball. And frankly, it's a weekend that celebrates you, the fan. And Jeff, you'll be a part of the proceedings tonight at the Winter Banquet.
Yes.
But really, this is always great because we like the guys who were the team really in 2023 and in 2024, they're all still back. But the new pieces are significant.
They are, and we'll finally get our hands on some of these guys face to face. You know, we've done conference calls, Zoom calls with like Jake Berger, for instance. Jock Peterson, they brought into town for his press conference, which I missed, but fortunately you and Abby were there. But
yeah,
tonight we'll before the awards dinner, we'll talk to Jake Berger and some of the awards winners, and all the award winners, including Wyatt Langford, Rookie of the Year, Corey Seager, who was the Player of the Year, and Corey Seager. We need to talk to him because we need to see how his offseason is progressing and all that stuff. And last year at this time we talked to him at the awards banquet and didn't have really any hint or any suggestion that anything was bothering him. And then 4 days later they had the conference call that, hey, he just had hernia surgery. So hopefully we don't get any January surprises like we did last year. But just from Josh Young's wiffle ball event over the weekend when he's out there playing, throwing hard, swinging hard. Evan Carter, who said, he's doing all of his activities. Jonah Heim, who I spoke with and have a story I need to knock out, just talking about how he feels better and understands and has no issues with Kyle Higashioka's signing. So just a lot of news. Jacob deGrom will be a guy who we'll talk to probably tomorrow before he signs his autographs. Chris Young will be there. Bruce Bochy will be there. So a lot of news comes out of this weekend. So stay tuned. Keeps us busy. But it is a good event. It's an opportunity for fans to see their favorite guys, hear from the guys who make the decisions. You can ask questions too. Don't be shy. They have microphones. Go ahead and ask a question. I wouldn't ask Chris Young about ticket prices or parking prices or anything like that because he doesn't really have the answers. But ask him some baseball stuff, and we'll see what he has to say. I think he goes on at 10 o'clock on the field. They'll be at various spots, but on the field they'll have I almost said a big little stage. They'll have a big stage, and somebody will be moderating it, asking him questions, and he'll answer them. He's pretty good at that stuff.
Yeah, these things are great, and let's for now let you know what's happening tomorrow. We'll circle back to some of the stuff from tonight, But Prophet, if we can show that. It's 9 to 4 tomorrow at Globe Life Field, and you see the list of players there that will be available for autographs, which is pretty much everybody. And, of course, Bruce Bochy will be available. You see the alums who will also be there signing, and then there are the Q&A sessions, and they're serious. This is a Q, question and answer, and the questions often come from you. I've moderated many of them over the years, and we encourage, ask for, and really want you to ask questions. So come prepared and get a chance to say hi to, various people who are there. Josh Young, I know, is going to be on the stage with Mike Bassick, who will moderate, and they're going to be talking baseball cards. So bring your baseball card questions there, and all kinds of stuff to do over the course of the day tomorrow at Globe Life Field, as well as all kinds of things that are, just fun, getting on the field, running the bases, things for kids. They have it all set up. There are some concessions, not all of them. Some of the concessions are available. It's a celebration of the beginning of what is the new baseball season. And anyway, it's all day tomorrow at Globe Life Field from 9 until 4 tomorrow. It should be a great time out there. But the significance, I think, Jeff, is that, and I think I learned this when I covered those 90s Cowboys teams, and they were almost exactly the same every year, right? We'd go back at Cowboys training camp. In those days, it was at St. Edward's University in Austin, Texas. And we'd go back or we'd see him at minicamp even. I mean, we'd see him throughout the year, and we'd just be like, well, it's the same guys. It's the same team. Yeah. And they said, not at all. Every single team is different. And, it boggled my mind then as a 20-something going, how can it be different? It's the same guys. But each team has its own different personality. And even just those few changes, when you insert a Jock Peterson or a Jake Berger or a Kyle Higashioka, those guys can absolutely make the personality of a team and make the feel of a team and the tenor of a team completely different. So while most of the faces and names are familiar, the 2025 Texas Rangers, Jeff, will be way different than the 2024 Texas Rangers were. And many of us, of course, hoping, Jeff, they'll be a lot more like the 2023 Texas Rangers were, frankly.
Yeah, and even like every spring training has a different feel. Like
it does.
Last year, there was the hype and the excitement. Hey, they just won their World Series. But it just didn't feel like a normal camp. And maybe that was it, but there was, you didn't see some guys playing a whole bunch early. It just kind of, there was a different energy factor, I felt like. But to your point, baseball rosters these days and NFL rosters too, all rosters really, they turn over so much. You're talking about the Rangers signing 5 relievers. They added Higashioka. They added Jock Peterson. So that's 7 guys.
Yeah.
It's a 26-man roster.
Jake Berger.
So
8.
So I guess that would be 8. And so that's more than 30% of your roster.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big deal. And you're losing a personable guy like Nathaniel Lowe, who was traded once Berger was acquired, but it seems like Berger's a good guy, and we've talked about Jock Peterson, and maybe he was an element that was missing from the team last year, and kind of an Austin Hedges who can hit,
right?
And come in and produce and kind of back up his talk with it. So. But yeah, there'll be a chance, to meet these guys, at least hear from them up close and personal. The only other place you'll get as close as spring training, which I can't endorse enough, as a great family trip. If you're a baseball family, you got to go to spring training. You really do. It doesn't have to be the Rangers. It can be whatever your favorite team is. But you just have such access to these guys. You can't get this close to them at Globe Life Field. You can be standing 10 feet away from these guys when they're throwing bullpen sessions. I mean, you can just get so close, and see what it's like. So if you can't go this weekend, maybe you can go to Arizona. If you can't go to Arizona, come to the ballpark this weekend.
Yeah, I swear my kids regard our trips to Arizona that we made on spring breaks as some of the best vacations we ever had.
Yeah, when I grew up in Colorado, it was way before the Rockies.
Sure.
We had the Denver Bears, who became the Denver Zephyrs, the AAA team. And, but we had cable television and WGN. So we got the Cubs games. And so 84, the Cubs win the division, and, we're all excited and Cubs fans. And so then we end up going to spring break 85. I was in 4th grade. We went to Mesa, which is where they trained. And different, they still do train in Mesa, just a much nicer ballpark.
Yeah.
But, and that we went every year until I graduated from high school. So it was just a great trip. Not a terrible drive from Colorado. I wish we would have flown a couple times, but, you just, again, it's just whether you want to get autographs as a kid, see baseball in a relaxed environment. You're going to see players who are going to be playing in Frisco and Round Rock, in these A games. And then once minor league games start, you can just go out back for free and watch those. There's so much you can do at spring training. The weather's great. It's just, I can't, it's just the best. It's the best. It was the best trip we took.
The weather, especially if you get into the early parts of March, right? Yeah. Sometimes in February, the first couple of weeks, it can still be a little chilly out there and surprise you.
Yes.
But if you get into the time once the games start, right? Which is when you really want to go anyway. There's still wonderful opportunities to see guys working out and practicing and all that. But those games are special. Those spring training games, the Cactus League games, as it were. So, it's great. And so what do we expect out of this team that is going to be completely different personality-wise? I think from what we've already seen, look, we mentioned it yesterday on the show, Marcus Semien's on the record talking on a radio show the other night from the Winter Caravan, the Winter Caravan kickoff. He's on the record as saying, Jock Peterson's going to bring an element to this team personality-wise that we really didn't have last year. And that is, be honest, I mean, we saw Jock Peterson. He's got a cocksure attitude, right? He's got confidence. And he, very first press conference brought up, the Astros have had a nice little run. And it's time for that to end. That kind of confidence, that sort of cockiness, for lack of a better word, is good. I love the team to have that personality. It really didn't have that personality even in 2023 when they did win, until the end, when Corey Seager basically had his drop the mic moment.
Right. It just seemed like last year they were like, okay, we're the world champs. Maybe we don't need to be brash.
Right.
Everybody knows how good we are. And then they weren't particularly good. And again, and as I've said this before, you can have injuries and you can have guys who aren't producing, but you can't have them both at the same time. And the Rangers did. That's what happened to sunk their season. They could have, honestly, if Adolis Garcia had hit a little bit better, and same thing with Heim, and we know all the guys. If they performed a little bit better, they might have endured those injuries a little bit. I mean, the Rangers were in first or second place for most of the first 2 months of the season, and really hanging around and not that far out of it. It just, Houston went on a little run, and that was the end of it. But they still thought they had a chance at the trade deadline to at least get a wild card spot, and didn't work out. I mean, they didn't trade the farm for him, but maybe they did need a kick in the shorts, and maybe that's what Jock Peterson's going to do for him. Just kind of loosen him up a little bit. If something needs to be said, maybe he becomes the guy who says it. Because I don't think Marcus Semien wants to say those things.
Nope.
He's
Corey certainly does.
Corey, yeah, exactly. Unless he's coming off a 36 hours booze binge after winning the World Series, he might say something. But it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, what it feels like at spring training. But there's reasons to be excited about the team. They have added. They still need to add, we think, another reliever. Yes. And Kirby Yates is still out there. So we'll see what happens here in the next 4 weeks, I guess.
Sure. Yeah, amazingly,
February 12th.
Amazingly, that closer market still really hasn't developed. So there's still possibilities there, and we still think that the Rangers will be a part of whatever develops in that market for the closers that are still available in free agency. All right, we got more coming up as we talk about one of the starters. And with one of the starters on the weekly show this week, Cody Bradford was the guest of Jeff and John Moore. We hear some of that interview coming up next on the DLLS Rangers podcast. So we're close now, really close to the East-West Shrine Bowl. And you want to go to the 100th anniversary of the East-West Shrine Bowl since 1925. Literally, 1925 was when they started this college all-star game, and some of the best college players really ever in the history of football have played in the East-West Shrine Bowl. There are 80 guys who are in the Pro Football Hall of Fame who have played in this game. A couple of Cowboys, Brian Anger and Rico Dowdle. Two guys that you watched all season long. Rico Dowdle really surprised and went well at the end of the year. They both played in the East-West Shrine game. So these are guys who are all-stars now, and they'll become legends eventually. They could become Hall of Famers. It's the 29th of January, eastwestshrinebowl.com, or scan that little QR code on the screen that you see in front of you, and you got an opportunity. It's the 30th of January to go have a great time for as little as $20.
I don't know if you want to do any sleeper picks on the East-West Shrine game. Playing time's a little hard to come by, and I doubt that they even do it. But if you go there today, download the app, use the code DLS Rangers to get $100 first match deposit on your first match on your first deposit. Today they have a $30 protected pick, which means that it's a free pick. Make a $30. Hit the little button to use the promotion, and then you can pick as many games as you want for up to $30, or as many guys as you want up to $30. And if you win, you win a bunch of money, and if you lose, you get
nothing.
your $30 back.
Wow,
they're giving you money. I did mine already, so download the Sleeper app. Use code DLLS Rangers for a $100 first deposit match.
Yeah, that's a fun time. It's a fun way to keep up with your favorite guys and, of course, your favorite teams. Now, one of our favorite guys around here, we showed him last week, I think, on the show when the weather hit, the bad or wintry weather hit. Cody Bradford was in his house with one of those pitchbacks, we used to call them, the net that you throw the ball against and it comes back to you. And again, he's a major leaguer, so control generally isn't an issue, but he had it against a glass door. I mean, if I'd done that, there'd only need to be this much space for the ball to fit through, and somehow I'd find that space and break the window. But Cody didn't break any windows, and he did get his throws in, got his arm loose that day. And then I know I heard parts of the interview that Jeff and John Moore did with him on the weekly show. That was one of the subjects of the conversation, Jeff.
Yeah, little dog that they got last year when he was injured. She's about 9 months old now, little Dotson. And if you see that video, she's chasing that ball back and forth. And he was throwing it into a mattress.
Is that what it was?
It was a mattress,
okay.
Yeah. And he had the plyo balls. So they're the little weighted balls. And apparently the dog went after one and jumped up, and it hit her and just knocked her sideways because it was heavy.
That's heavy.
Yeah. But she rebounded well. And Cody rebounded well. He got off to such a fabulous start last year in April. Hurt what they thought was a rib, but it ended up being a hairline fracture in his lower back. It just took time, a lot more time than they would have wanted or would have preferred. And he ended up returning right around the trade deadline in relief at St. Louis. He gave up 5 runs. It was not a great outing, and that was the only blemish, really. He was just solid all year. And we kind of asked him what made the difference, and it was a curveball. He started working with a curveball, and it's pretty funny how it came about. And we got the clip right here.
What made a difference for you? It seemed like you added a curveball in spring training, that you were just maybe get you over pitch, or just trying to a little different look.
Yeah. Coming into last spring, Mike Maddox had mentioned, hey, you might want to add a curveball to your repertoire, Cody. I think it'd play well off your high fastball, probably, be a good third pitch for you. Had experimented, been throwing a slider and had experimented with a cutter-ish thing, and not great results on those. The hitters just weren't showing what we were looking for. And it's like, well, Mike actually threw a curveball in college. It was a pretty good one. I think it had good results, got swing and misses. He's like, well, why'd you stop throwing it? I'm like, well, I had TOS surgery. When I came back, I kind of lost the feel for it. And then the one I ended up figuring out how to throw again, the analytics said it was terrible pitch. Don't throw it. It won't work. Won't work. Yeah. So I didn't throw it. I learned how to throw a slider and a cutter thing. So anyway, spent all last off season. He's like, well, it doesn't need to be a banger. It doesn't need to be a certain velo. I don't care about the analytics. Something that moves like this and something that's in the strike zone. And I said, okay, yes, sir. I'll figure that out. And came to spring, and every outing, as the pitch counts, grew a little bit, we were able to sprinkle in some more, and got up to where we're throwing, 15, 16, 20 curveballs a game, and took that into the season. It really did make a difference. It was a pitch that at the beginning of the year was getting a lot of auto takes. It was just so different out of the hand. Of course, it's not on scouting reports, and the hitters are just kind of, I remember literally in my first start, I think in the first or second batter, I think I threw it to Suzuki with the Cubs. I remember he literally took it, it kind of buckled in for a sec, and then kind of looked back at the dugout like, hey, what was that? Wasn't on there. It wasn't on the scouting report. But anyways, no, it was a good pitch. And then as the year went on, the more you throw a pitch and the more you have success with it, the higher your confidence is, and the greater your ability to throw it in 2-strike counts or in counts that you wouldn't start it off with. So it was a good, took pressure off the fastball and the changeup, and it was a great third pitch for me last year.
Yeah, Cody's great.
That's fantastic.
And we just the honesty that he speaks with, and sometimes it's short and to the point, and that's fine. He's not being short. It's just that's kind of how I answer questions.
Yeah,
it's like there's your answer. I don't need to expand on it. He has that's probably his 4th time that he's been on our podcast, and each time gets better. And but yeah, I mean, he was later asked, by a viewer, what do you think about your chances of, or you pretty much have the question was, have you changed your approach this offseason since you have a rotation spot locked up? And he goes, well, I hope that's true. He doesn't take anything for granted.
Yeah.
And I asked him, I was like, you and Andrew Heaney would say last year, I don't need to start. Let me help the team however they need it. And, it's sincere with those guys. And he talked about that too. He just wants to be a good servant of the club. Like, his faith tells him to be a good servant. And, so just a great guy to listen to, smart, always prepared. That's the thing that Bruce Bochy and Mike Maddox say. The first thing that comes out of their mouth is he is always prepared.
And it's great because he brought up Mike Maddox right away, which is not surprising, right? Mike was the one that suggested the curveball. And then I just love how, you, of course, they notice everything. But the first time he threw the curveball against the Cubs in the first series or whatever it was, he sees the guy look over at the dugout. I'm like, what the heck? They notice everything, and he loved that. That was a great part of that story. And I think he started the year in his first 3 starts with like a 1.14 ERA or something like that.
It was his first start. And he pitched great against I think he pitched really well against the Braves.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Or no, it was the Astros. He pitched really, really well against the Astros. But anyway, yeah, he was their best starter for the first 3 times through the rotation, and then the injury happened. But it is interesting. We'll see where things shake out and how they shake out in the rotation. 8 starters basically. Obviously Evaldi, DeGrom are going to be in there. We think John Gray's going to be in there. Tyler Mahle, the salary kind of commands that, it dictates that he'll be in there. So is it Rocker? Is it Bradford? Leiter, Dane Dunning? Those guys could be 4 guys competing for one spot. But as we've talked about with inning limits and everything, whether, if Rocker wins it, well, Bradford may piggyback him. I mean, that's two totally different guys who throw with totally different arms. Or maybe Rocker, can't pitch. He's going to be limited on his innings, so maybe Cody Bradford and he split that spot. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. So we'll find out 28 days, hopefully. Well, we won't find out in 28 days, but the work will start. A couple things here. Lethal, I'd move DeGrom to closer. Well, he's not durable enough. And the best pitcher in the world needs to be a starting pitcher.
Yep.
And then the question about Scherzer as a closer, I don't think he'd consider it. I think he wants to be a starter, and ultimately I haven't really seen anything suggesting otherwise. And the durability is a problem with him. If he couldn't play catch on back-to-back days last year at times, how's he going to pitch on back-to-back days?
Yeah.
When he's have his bad stuff. And then Brendan, at the top of the show, what is your favorite acquisition this offseason and why? I don't know. I hadn't really thought about it. I just write about him. I think the one that's going to have the biggest impact on the team, though, is Higashioka. I really think that having two solid catchers to help shore up a position where fatigue is such a big issue. What did he hit? 17 home runs last year, I think. Yeah. And Heim,
that was the most in his career.
And Heim had 13. If you can get 30 home runs from your catcher spot, you've got a serious leg up on the rest of the league. There aren't a lot of Salvador Perez and Cal Raleigh are 30 home run hitters. Maybe Will Smith with the Dodgers could do that. But and I'm probably missing some guys, Real Muto. Maybe I'm missing some other catchers. But boy, what an advantage that could be offensively if they're both good.
Yeah, and my favorite offseason acquisition thus far has been the fact that they got Jock Peterson in here, because I think he brings a much-needed element to the team. Not only that personality that we were talking about, but here's a guy who hits the fastball. And actually, Jake Berger, so you got 1 and 1A. This was a deficiency of the team, was that they had trouble with velo. Here's two guys that come in and immediately remedy that issue and makes it harder to pitch to everybody else, because those two guys are more difficult to hit, right? They provide protection, if you will, in a way, to the other guys who may still have some problems with velo. So, but basically, Peterson would be my favorite because he adds that element, plus he adds the element of the personality and the leadership and the clubhouse. Really, like in a way, the way that Marcus Semien was talking about it on the radio was it's more just about a feel in the clubhouse. It's not like coming in and saying, you guys do this or you guys do that. It's like walking in and telling jokes and being fun and being funny and making them smile and being crazy. That was Austin Hedges. That was Will Smith. And last year, the team just didn't really have that guy. So, with Jock Peterson wearing pearls and all the things that he does, with Jock, they now have that.
Yeah, and I got Nathan Eovaldi's an acquisition technically, though.
I guess okay.
He did
I'd
re-sign
put him at the
with
top.
them. Like new guys. I was thinking of there, but Eovaldi. I mean, such a critical piece to the rotation. Had to have him back, and I think that was kind of the key to the whole offseason, honestly, was getting Nathan's deal done. But again, geez, all these new guys we don't even know about. Maybe Jacob Webb turns into some kick-ass reliever, and Hobie Milner from Fort Worth, feeling good at home. Maybe he has his rebound season that he's been looking for. But yeah, we need we're still waiting for that closer to be signed, and I think it's going to happen. I just don't know when.
Yep, we'll see what happens there, and we hope it does. We've talked a lot already about Marcus Semien, but more to come on Marcus, who received an honor, if you will, for the third year in a row. Also, we'll talk about just how his Ironman role will exist or proceed or change this year. It's all coming up on the DLLS Rangers podcast.
I got to tell you, John, I was not paying attention, and I've been caught.
I got it. It's Rugged Road.
Oh, Rugged Road.
It's Rugged
sure.
Road right here. I wasn't either, honestly. Here we got a Rugged Road. It's so versatile. You can put your glasses or your phone or your drink on it, but better is to put things inside of it, especially cold things like your drink, because it'll keep it cold for 7 days. Lightweight, durable. It's so well made. It's one of my favorite things about the Rugged Road cooler. It's light. And I haven't done this yet, but I've got to take mine out to the pool probably once it gets warmer. I noticed yesterday when I was just, cleaning up the pool and stuff, it's 47 degrees in the water.
Yeah, it's a little chilly right now.
A little chilly. So, but anyway, next summer, or, maybe in the spring, I'm going to toss the Rugged Road in there. They say it floats. I want to know.
Yeah, well, and Jeff Kavanaugh swears it floats upright even.
Wow. So you can open it, get your drinks out, and away you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're set for life.
And that way you could float the river with it or whatever you want. RuggedRoad.com. Get 10% off your Rugged Road cooler.
Yes, and FOCO also wants to give you 10% off. And FOCO, as you've heard us talk about, it's the place where you can go get all kinds of gear for your favorite team. And they have all kinds of stuff. We've talked about the Detroit Lions overalls that we need to see John in here soon. Yes, they do have Rangers stuff. I just towed it up, and boy, there's a big Rangers print tailgate tote bag.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I don't think you could get into the ballpark, but you could certainly
take it to the tailgate, though.
Absolutely, for sure. So yeah, and boom, overalls.
They have them?
Men and women. That's right.
Rangers.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So go to FOCO.com, use the code DLLS for 10% off.
We love FOCO. We love all our advertisers, and we love you hanging out with us each and every day. During the lunch hour, we got more to talk about, and we'll get to the batting cleanup segment, and there's some pretty fun stuff to talk about in that segment. But first, we want to talk about Marcus Semien. And the first thing that everybody thinks of when you talk about Marcus Semien is how the guy plays every day. And he does. I mean, it's amazing. And he would play 162 every year if they'd let him. But take a look at the last 7 years for Marcus Semien and the number of games he has played. And in this day and age, look, there are no Cal Ripken Juniors anymore. So nobody plays the number of games that Marcus does. So let's take a look at that one, Prophet, and look at there, 159, 162. Of course, 2020, they only played 60. And somehow he missed 7 out of the 60, but then 162, 161, 2023, he played in every game, 159 last year, and he was a little bit pissed that he had to sit out 3 games. I mean,
right.
He never wants to be out of the lineup. Like we say, there are 14 games that he's missed in a 7-year span, an average of 2 games per year. There are no more Cal Ripken Juniors, but this guy right now in this world is basically as close as they go. There's a couple other guys that play as often as him, but not many.
Yeah, it's a real short list, and that's great. The best ability is availability, and the wherever he's going to end up in the lineup, I still think he'll be the leadoff hitter. You can just pencil him in. It's going to be there. Now, Bruce Bochy wants him to take some time off. The collision last year with Adolis, a big man. Marcus played the next day. Adolis did not. And he was kind of talking trash about that at the time. But you could tell that something wasn't quite right, and they finally gave him a day off, and he came back, and it kind of jump started him a little bit. So just a day watching baseball, clear your mind. Don't do anything, although I'm sure he still went through the regular routine with ground balls and such. But that 2020, I wonder if he had COVID or maybe got exposed to it and had to be quarantined or some crap.
That was such a weird year. Yeah.
But anyway, so if you take out that season, the last 6 seasons, he's missed 7 games. Okay, that's or 8 games. Sorry, that's pretty outstanding.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. But he did struggle last year. And he needed to be better. You look at 2023, he finished 3rd in the AL MVP vote. He's such a good defender. He's a really good base runner. He didn't run as much last year. A lot of that has to do with the fact that he's ahead of Corey Seager, and there might not have been many guys on base. So you want Corey Seager to get a chance to swing that bat. But he said he wanted to hit the end of last season. He said he wanted to get the ball in the air more this season. He still has trouble with the slider on the outside part of the plate. He hits the inside fastball. That's his favorite pitch. But everybody needs to be better, and you need your leadoff guy to be better, to be an above average player. And if you look at his offensive numbers, at least, whereas OPS wasn't on base, it was not league average. So that needs to be fixed, and you don't need to tell him. He knows, but he is kind of the guy who leads by example. If you're a young player, a young infielder, you want to watch how Marcus Semien goes about his business. It's every day, it's routine based, and he still has fun. He out there, you see him smiling and joking around too. But he knows when it's time to work and when it's time to have fun. And I think he will benefit like everybody else from the rest, the extra month. It's an extra month with the family. It's a extra month not doing baseball stuff, although I bet he didn't take off much time. But still, Marcus Semien is he's paid $25 million for a reason. It's to be an MVP candidate, and he's finished third a couple times in his career. And if he's that kind of player, or maybe a top 10 MVP type, the Rangers are going to have a better season offensively.
No doubt about it. And look, he is a guy who not only, Jeff mentioned, does the same thing every day, but the routine is sacred to him, right? I mean, it's like some guys who say, it does the same thing every day, and they really don't. He does the same thing every single day to prepare for a game, and the other guys notice that. And he told us at the end of last season, he's like, I want guys to watch what I'm doing, not only on the field, but even in the clubhouse. Because the one thing about him, Marcus does not love, and many of the guys does not love his media responsibilities, if you will, but he takes them very seriously. And he's great when we talk to him, and he's great in being available in that regard too. He's the ones you just cringe at, I should say, are the guys who hide when something bad happens.
Right.
That's not Marcus Semien. That's not Marcus Semien at all. Something bad happens, he's right out there, front and center, and ready to talk about it, whether it was to him or to the team.
I mean, that's being a good teammate, being accountable. The starting pitchers have to do it. Position players should have to do it. And I mean, they don't have to do it, but they know that it's just something that is ingrained in them young. You're a starting pitcher, beat your locker, good or bad. And closers who blow saves usually do it. I mean, Yates only blew one last year and they ended up winning the game, so it wasn't much of a storyline. But if David Robertson had a bad outing, he waited for us to come to the clubhouse, and Rich Rice would say, "Hey, David's waiting for you guys." It's like, all right, well, we'll
go get him. Yeah. And I remember, we've watched some of the younger closers grapple with that. I mean, like when Jose Leclerc was first learning the role and first in that role and first had his first few blown saves, he did it, but it was at the urging of the public relations people and of other pitchers. It's not comfortable. It's not easy to do. And Jose's such a nice guy that nobody wants to, sort of go in there and, be argumentative with him or rip him. But the job is to ask some questions about that. What happened?
Yeah, and that's obviously nobody likes that. I don't like asking those questions, but you find a way to do it. And if you're there enough, they're like, all right, yeah, I know, and they won't hold it against you when you ask them what the F,
right? Yeah, seriously, yeah.
And if you know them that well, you can ask that question.
Yeah,
I mean, it's. I remember after TCU got destroyed in the national title game a few years ago, there were a couple of the players who I'd gotten to know pretty well, and I just went up and I said, "What the blip?" And like, I don't know. And TR would do that to the guys that we were close to. So there's a fun when you build a relationship with these guys, it gets a lot easier for them and for you to talk about the bad stuff.
Yeah, because again, at that point, it becomes almost like, and you're not really buddies with them, but almost like a couple of buddies after the game. Like, damn, dude, what happened?
Yeah.
You know, like that's essentially the tone of the question, because the implication of "damn, dude, what happened" is, I know normally that doesn't happen. You know,
Right.
Normally
for sure.
you're unbelievable at this. So anyway, that's part of that process. Here's the thing that kind of angered me in the past, I don't know, week or two. I think it's MLB Network that's been doing this poll, and
Yeah,
a lot of it's the fans. I think there's a huge component that's a fan vote, and in all the ones, catcher, center fielder, third baseman, none of the starting pitcher. Oh, I think Jacob deGrom. No, I don't even think deGrom was in there. Starting pitcher and relief pitcher, no Rangers.
yeah,
Not one. And they do top 10. I mean, catcher, Jonah Heim was an all-star 2 years ago. He doesn't make the top 10 now?
Yeah,
Come on.
What do they call it? The grinders, some
Yeah,
machine
the
with numbers,
pressure or something.
and everything. And
I don't know.
and
anyway,
I think it's based.
It's going to be on
the
this
last
graphic,
3 years,
actually.
maybe.
Yeah, it's going to be on this graphic, because let's show one of the guys that's in there. What is it? Say it on there?
Marcus Semien is third.
Yeah, he's third. I thought it said on the top there what this thing is. But anyway, that's a vote. I think, again, a big fan component. And it's the third year in a row that Marcus Semien is third. And, I think it's hard to argue with Ketel Marte. But you might have an argument with Altuve now, as he's getting a little longer in the tooth.
Yeah, Marte was great last year. And he was somebody who you definitely paid attention to in the 2023 World Series. But when I think of the great second baseman, I don't know who I think of. Semien, obviously, and he's in the other league, so I don't know that he really
right.
counts.
That's the other thing. Yeah,
but it's that list is pretty top heavy. Like Chat has Jazz Chisholm as a second baseman. Well, he played center field and third base last year. He has played some second, and maybe that's where he's going to end up this year for the Yankees. But with Gleyber Torres gone, but it's just kind of like, where do they come up with these, and what numbers are used? What's the formula? All this stuff. But whatever, it's something to. We're doing exactly what MLB Network wants. We're talking about it.
Clicking. It's what they call clickbait, and it got me to click, and it got me, a little hot under the collar when I'd see none of the Rangers on. Again, Jacob deGrom. They do a list of again, I guess kind of
he's been hurt,
gone and forgotten. He was hurt, so he's forgotten. But you're not going to put him as one of your top 10 pitchers in the league. He finished the year starting, right? He finished the year and had a few starts. So anyway,
I'm with you. I mean, it's up for debate for sure. And if he's healthy, he's going to be the best pitcher in the game.
No doubt about it. And Marcus Semien's going to have something to say about being the best second baseman certainly in the American League, and possibly the best second baseman in all of baseball before the year is said and done. That's if he is the Marcus Semien that we've come to know and love. And I believe somehow there's just something about him, Jeff, that makes me feel like he'll respond in a way that's just appropriate and maybe even jaw-dropping, right? He just seems like a response guy. And I know, well, then why didn't he respond last year? I know. But sometimes in the middle of it, you just can't. And again, he was probably hurt a little bit because of the collision. But I just think there's a response coming from Marcus Semien. I have really good feelings about his season upcoming.
Yeah, and I did do. I've been looking at that 2020 season. He ended up having a little side issue, but it wasn't a major injury. MRI was negative, but then the team had to go into quarantine because a player got COVID.
Okay,
so that kind of contributed to he and then he wasn't able to rehab that injury and get treatment because they couldn't go anywhere. And so that was just a screwy season. But but that wasn't a great year for him. It was not. But the next year was phenomenal. He finished third in the MVP vote. So he's done that 3 times in his career. We can talk about after we do our ad read. But 18, he was an okay player. But then 19, he was great. 20, not very good. 21 great. 22 he was a pretty good player.
Yeah.
But then 23 he was really good again.
Yeah.
So this is a prime for a Marcus Semien bounce back.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun year, I think, with Marcus Semien. We've got stuff to talk about in our batting cleanup segment as we get to the cleanup hitter in our batting order. That's coming up next on the DLLS Rangers podcast. Jeff's got the merch today. I didn't. I've got the big. I got a Pudge Rodriguez interview to do after.
No, yeah, you got to look sharp.
I got to look
Pudge.
nice for Pudge.
Yeah, I've got the sweatshirt on. I mean, I've got a TCU shirt on underneath. So, this is the part of the show every day where we talk about it and encourage you guys to buy the merch. And we're not just doing it because we want you guys to line our pockets. This is good stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the key to it. You guys are going to like this stuff. And if you like the show, which we appreciate, or if you like the Cowboys show, the Mavs show, the Star show, we got shirts for all 4 shows. We have the plain old DLS sweatshirts and T-shirts, and John and I both had on one of those T-shirts yesterday. So it's just good, cozy stuff, and this is a hoodie on a day like today is perfect. So store.allcitynetwork.com. Go there and pick out your stuff and get it. It ships quick too.
Yeah, it does. And the diehard membership subscription is huge because I just saw that we, not the Rangers show yet, that'll probably happen in season at some point, but the Mavs show is going to have an event at Cosm. And if you've heard about Cosm, if you know about Cosm, it's sort of a poor man's version of the Sphere, but it is awesome. And it's up in the north area, up there kind of by where Nebraska Furniture and all that stuff is, if that's Frisco.
The colony.
The colony up there. So anyway, it's fantastic. It's a great place to watch any game that you want to watch, and it's like watching it at a theater. Well, you can get 20% off your ticket, and they are limited to the Mavs watch party up there at Cosm. That's one of the many benefits of being a diehard. So become a diehard, see all the stuff that's behind the paywall, get 20% off our events, and enjoy life as a diehard. All right, so let's wrap up Marcus Semien really quickly because you mentioned those years where he was third in the MVP voting. Look, that 2021 season, the 2021 season, that's how he gets a 7-year contract for 145, was it?
125, 7 and 150. I can't. 175.
175. That's
25
right.
a year. Yeah,
and 175. That's right.
So it was very similar, if you allow, to Adrian Beltre after the 2008 season and Beltre's time in Seattle was done. He had to sign kind of a make good contract with the Red Sox. It was a 1-year deal. He went out there and I think he led the league in doubles that year. It was great. And then he turned it into 6 and 96 with the Rangers and, went to the World Series in his first year and was, a perennial all-star and Gold Glover and all that stuff. Well, Marcus, after his shaky 2020, signs a 1-year deal with Toronto. Goes up to Toronto, hits 45 home runs, has a huge year. And, the Rangers opened 2022 there at Sky Dome. And the Blue Jays gave out their team awards that year to guys who'd won awards, and Marcus had won a couple. He'd won a Gold Glove and a Silver Slugger.
Wow! And
the crowd went crazy for him. And why not? Obviously, a guy who's 1 year does that, but you like Marcus Semien. Marcus Semien's a very likable guy. So but you're the 21 years just. I don't know if it's really an outlier. I guess the 45 homers are, but he's hit 33 and 30 before too. So. Sure. He has some pop. He's not going to win a home run derby, but he's gonna hit you some timely home runs, and might start a game with one, and might hit one in the 9th inning of Game 5 of the World Series to kind of put that one away.
Yep, he'll do that on you. That will happen. And of course, that was the year Toronto. I think that was the first year at the big league level he had played second base.
It was,
and he'd always been a shortstop in Oakland. But he was a second baseman and sort of paved the way. And when he signed just a little bit before Corey Seager did here with the Rangers,
24 hours before.
Yeah, 24 hours. Okay, so we were all thinking at the time, it's great. They got a great shortstop. They got a great shortstop in Marcus Semien. We're thinking he's going back to that position.
Right.
And he ends up staying at second because they got an even better one in Corey Seager. So that was an amazing, amazing offseason. And, we're expecting a fun year, a big year out of the Rangers Keystone combination there, the shortstop and the second baseman. Now, let's get to speaking of Toronto, some big news now with regard to the Sasaki Saga. The Toronto Blue Jays have made a trade with the Cleveland Guardians for Miles Straw.
Mm-hmm.
And you go, whoa, okay. What does that have to do with Sasaki? It's a player to be named later. Cash considerations. Miles Straw, who played like 24 games for the Guardians last year.
He's in the minors.
And international money.
$2 million worth.
Yeah. So and there's now word. And yesterday we were sitting here saying it looks like the Blue Jays are out. Obviously not, because what has also since happened is the Padres have started signing. And you brought this up, Jeff, yesterday we'll know which team starts signing all their other international free agents, who's out of it. The Padres have begun doing that. So it looks like it's the Dodgers and the Blue Jays.
Yeah, and that's interesting. I really kind of thought that it would be the Padres, but hey, let's see what happens. I mean, it'll be interesting. There are a lot of reasons to sign with the Blue Jays beyond baseball stuff.
Yes.
It's what Rogers Communications can shower him with money. Because honestly, in these next couple of years, he's going to be making the league minimum.
Sure.
Which is under $1 million. He would make more in Japan, but he could sign a lifetime contract with Rogers.
Sure.
Who knows what it'd pay him per year? So there's that opportunity there. And again, it doesn't make a ton of sense when you look at the team right now, the Blue Jays, with some uncertainty they have at GM and manager. Uncertainty with
Vlad
Guerrero,
yeah.
and there's also reports now that they're talking to Pete Alonso and Anthony Santander. Maybe they're preparing for life without Vlad. But it seems like a fit when you look at the back end of it. It doesn't seem like a fit when you look at the right now. And so who knows what's going to make up his mind. I'm sure that Ohtani and Yamamoto are going to be really hard to say no to, and the Dodgers obviously can give him a $700 million deal. Who knows how much he's going to make? Probably not.
Sure.
Probably not 700 because he's going to be only a pitcher. But they could pay him a ton of money.
Yeah.
But I really think, and it was I give a lot of credit to John Daniels, and he was on the Blue Jays a long time ago as a spot for this guy to land.
Yeah, and but to your point, and we talked about this since the very beginning with Sasaki and how a new younger player in the Japanese culture of baseball is somewhat deferential to the older players, and so perhaps that's one of the reasons that he didn't want to go to the San Diego Padres, where Yu Darvish is. They've got Hideo Nomo in their front office too, so there was a lot of that made a lot of sense in that regard. So yes, Yamamoto and Ohtani, being there in the Dodgers organization makes sense, but maybe he's steering away from something like that purposefully. We don't know. We'll find out very soon, I think. But with regard to the Blue Jays too, Toronto, I think if you haven't been, you just don't recognize or realize what an unbelievably cosmopolitan melting pot of a city this is.
It really is.
Really, really. And I've been to all the big ones in Canada. I've been out to Vancouver. I've been in Montreal. Toronto to me is the one that seems like kind of the New York, if you will, of Canada, where it is just everybody, everything, all the time, and it's got a really high-end vibe to it. So I could see it being an attractive spot. And again, we thought he was going to a small market. Clearly, neither, because I guess Toronto, compared to the large American cities, could be considered that, but it ain't a small market.
Not at all. But also, and we talked about this. that's all Canada's got when it comes to baseball.
Yeah.
And there's TV. Every game is on TV in Canada. They have some really good beat reporters who are there, and we'll ask the probing questions and things like that. We'll see. The thing about the Dodgers, if they want to make the guy comfortable, they can say, hey, look, we have 2 Japanese players, and this is what we do with them with the media. And they really kind of put the screws to the Japanese media in that regard. But I'm pulling for Toronto to sign him. I am.
I'd like that too. I think that'd be cool. I would. It's sort of the old, I guess, concept too. Like, I'm tired of the rich getting richer, right? And the Dodgers have everybody, have more money than everybody. So it'd be kind of fun to see this happen and to see him land in Toronto, and then, see how else they proceed after, this, if this does happen that way. So speaking of Ohtani, which we have a few times in that discussion, he has donated $500,000, $500,000 to the relief efforts in the Southern California area, where those fires have been, just so unbelievable. I mean, I don't watch a lot of news coverage, but I've watched a little bit lately, and to just see how the devastation in that area, 15,000 houses, structures have been, gone. They're just gone. They're off the face of the earth. And thinking about trying to get 15,000 structures rebuilt.
Yeah.
How long does that take? I mean,
yeah. And, it's not cheap to build in Los Angeles.
No.
And a lot of celebrities lost houses.
Yeah.
So that kind of tells you the neighborhoods where these fires were running through. And, a few years ago, there was the bad fire near Boulder, Colorado, that went through. It started near Boulder and just raged through the town of Superior and parts of Louisville. My aunt and uncle live in Louisville, and the worst part of the fire just wiped out a neighborhood about a half mile to the south of their house. Like, they had to evacuate and all that. So that would have been winter of 22, maybe late 21 it happened. I think it was right after New Year's. But anyway, so 22 I went back for the TCU game in September and looked at the area, and the ground was still charred, and they had started clearing the houses. So then this last, I don't know, three weeks, we went over to their house when I was up in Colorado, and houses were just being built back.
So that's 3 years later.
That's 3 years.
3 years later.
And Colorado doesn't have the codes that you have to jump through in California and all that stuff. So, and a lot of people weren't able to rebuild because it's too expensive to do it. So they had to find other places to go. And so it affects, everybody's heard about the celebrities, but for every celebrity, there's probably 100 or 200 folks like you and me, John, who
regular people
lost everything.
Yeah. And can't even imagine. Just can't even imagine. And you have to, so many of those people in California, any wealth that they have is in the property. It's in the home, right? And so that, if that's gone and can't be replaced, which hopefully for most of them it can, but through insurance and so forth. But if it can't, that's it. That's the old saying, we lost everything, right? And again, always, thankful that you didn't lose your life and didn't lose all that. But man, anyway, nice of Shohei Ohtani. And I did like that he wants it to go to the firefighters, and he wants it to go for the sort of reuniting of pets with their
great.
Their owners.
Yeah,
so that I think it's a nice way to earmark that $500,000.
And we've seen his dog throw out the first pitch or whatever.
Yeah,
this well-trained little dog. So good. That's we all love dogs.
Yeah, we do indeed.
Yeah.
And so saw a couple people in the chat asking and wondering if we would be out at the FanFest, and we both plan to be there tomorrow. Probably, there's Tyler. We'll look for you, Tyler, but you look for us too, and we'll probably be there earlier. I will anyway, earlier rather than later. I got to get back to.
Yeah, I'm getting there at 9.
Are you? Right when it opens.
Right when it opens. Yeah. Apparently, Adolis Garcia. I know somebody asked, do we know when they're signing? Adolis apparently is signing early, and so. I don't have the exact time, but the goal is for the media to speak with Adolis before he signs, and I believe it's going to be maybe he signs at 10. I'm not sure, somewhere around that 9:30 to 10 window, because we're supposed to get him somewhere in there. So so I'm going to get there early. If you want to kind of plan out your day and well, not around our schedule, but I'll be sitting in at 10 o'clock as Chris Young talks. I'll be in the crowd, so I'll make sure I wear a DLLS something. And it's supposed to be a little bit chilly too.
Yeah.
I think in the weather.
Well, at some point, it's going to go from like the high of the day tomorrow is going to be at like 6 a.m, and then it's going to start to drop. So,
yeah. So
anyway, we'll look for you there. We appreciate you looking for us there, and we appreciate you hanging out with us, Tyler, and each and every one of you. Thanks for being here all week long. We're back. I think we checked. We're at noon every day next week. So that's cool. Our times are going to have to change soon as spring training is nigh upon us. But for now, join us for lunch each and every day. It's the DLLS Rangers Podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.